Now Stefanos, Tsitsipas, and Jonas, they're facing off in the third round of Roland Garros. Now Tsitsipas is having his best year yet on the tour. He won his first match. He won a Masters 1000 title in Monte Carlo. He reached the finals of Barcelona, the quarterfinal of the Rome. He reached the finals of Lyon. He beat Norrie in straight sets. And now in this tournament, he's been in good touch. He's won in straight sets both of his 2 matches, but he hasn't been in his best, especially over Martinez. He wasn't at his best. He got broken 4 times alone, so not such an encouraging stats for him, because he's going to have to up his level, especially if he wants to challenge for the title. He's going to have to up his level against higher ranked opponents. Now, his opponent Isner has also played well, and has also not dropped a set on the way to the third round. He's actually not been broken on the way to the third round, and he's only created 5 breakpoint opportunities for his opponents. So that's a good concerning. So that's a good stat. Sorry, it's not concerning. It's a good stat from Isner there. And while Isner is best on the hard courts and the grass courts, we can all agree that he can also do well on clay, especially evidenced by his run in Madrid to the quarterfinals, taking the set over Dominic Thiem. In that run, he beat Bautista Agut. He beat Rublev. So it shows he can also do well on the clay. Now, these opponents have met a bunch before. I know that they met this year, but they met 5 times. Tsitsipas leads the head-to-head 2-3. Their most recent meeting was in Acapulco this year. Tsitsipas won that one in straight sets. And they've never met on clay. Today's their first clay court encounter. So I think that this is going to be a 4-set match. I think that Isner's playing really well, and he hasn't been broken, so I think that he can force a 4th. But I think that Tsitsipas will get through this one. I think that he's one of the favorites to even win this tournament, so I think that Tsitsipas can get through this one comfortably enough. It's going to be a 4th set, because the Isner serve is nothing to joke with, but I'm going to pick Tsitsipas to win this in 4 sets. Carreño Busta and Steve Johnson, they're facing off in the third round of the French Open. Now, Carreño Busta has had a consistent year. He won a title in Andalusia this year, so that was a good match from him. Sorry, a good tournament from him. He also managed to do well in this tournament. His first round match was pretty easy. His second round match was actually surprising, because I didn't expect him to lose to a set to the French wildcard, but the French wildcard, maybe by the French crowd, managed to take a set. Carreño Busta, though, came back and won it in 4 sets. He was experienced to prevail, and now he gets to have a slightly easier test than Johnson, because Johnson isn't really as great on the clay. Now, Johnson hasn't really been done so well this year, but he has been in good touch this tournament. He played 2 5-setters. One of them against TFO. He produced a comeback for the age, which beat him in 5 sets. In his second round match, he had to win another 5-setter, which he played decently, but that was a great match from him. And I didn't expect him to win, because Montero is definitely a great clay court player. I didn't expect him to beat him, but he managed to win. And now he gets to play Carreño Busta, which will be tougher. But we'll see if it's possible that maybe Johnson can pull the upset, but he'll have to be at his best to do so. Now, these 2 players have met 4 times officially, and they're tied 2-2 in the head-to-head. Their only clay court meeting in 2018, Carreño Busta won that in 3 sets, and their most recent meeting was on the hard court, where Johnson won that in straight sets. So I think that Carreño Busta wins this one in straight sets. I think that Johnson, while he has played really well to get here, will be tired, and he's never really been known as a clay court player, while Carreño Busta can do well on the clay. So I'm going to pick Carreño Busta to win this one in straight sets. So Marcos Giron, Christian Guerin, they're facing off in the third round of Roland Garros. Giron this year has had a decent year this year. In the second round match, he did well. He beat Reilly Opelka in 4 sets, and now he's actually at his career best in the major, the third round. So pretty impressive. And he's going to hope to carry his form over to the 4th round, but it's going to be tough against a good clay court specialist. Now, his opponent Guerin had to come back from 2 sets down and 2 match points down against McDonald. When McDonald had 2 match points in the 3rd set tiebreak, he held 2 match points, but he couldn't convert them, and Guerin managed to produce a comeback for the ages, beat him in 5 sets. And now he gets to play Guerin in the he gets to play Giron in the 3rd round, which should be slightly easier than what he had to face in the 2nd round. These 2 players, they've never met, so they have a 0-0 head-to-head. But they didn't meet in a qualifying event in the US Open in 2017. Guerin won that one in straight sets. So I think that Guerin wins this. I think that while Giron is playing pretty well, I think that Guerin is just playing really well on the clay, and while he had to overcome a 2-set deficit, I think that Giron isn't really so skilled on the clay like maybe McDonald. So I'm gonna pick Guerin to win this one in straight sets. So Daniil Medvedev and Reilly Opelka, they're facing off in the third round of Roland Garros. Now Medvedev this year had a great year this year. He reached the final of the Australian Open, won the ATP Cup, won a title in Marseille, but he hasn't really been able to do the same on the clay courts. And as we know, clay isn't really his best surface, so it's not surprising. But in this tournament, he's been in pretty good touch, and he really impressed me, especially when he beat Tommy Paul in 3 sets. That was impressive by him, and he'll be hoping to carry that form over to the third round when he faces Opelka. Now, Opelka was not really in good form. He was in really bad form at the beginning of the year. He actually was on a losing streak, but he managed to turn his fortunes around at the Italian Open, where he reached the semis without dropping a set, including an impressive win over Aslan Karatsev and some good wins, especially against Musetti and against Federico Delbonis. He lost to Nadal in straight sets, and then in this tournament he's also been in good touch, and he's returned really well in this tournament. He beat Monar, a good clay court specialist, in the second round. He beat him in 4 sets. And against a good clay court specialist in Andre Martin, he beat him in straight sets. In this tournament, he's hit 28 aces, so a good stat from him. And now he'll be confident against Medvedev, since Medvedev isn't good on the clay. Now, these two opponents have met before, and they've met 3 times. Medvedev leads the head-to-head 2-1. They've met all on the hard courts though, so this is their first meeting on clay. They've never played on clay. So my prediction, I think that Medvedev wins this. I think that while Opelka is good, Medvedev really impressed me when he beat Tommy Paul in straight sets, and I think that he can really go further. I think he has a good chance to make his deep run here, since a lot of players like Dominic Thiem, they're out. I think this is really his best chance to really make a deep run. So I'm going to pick Medvedev to win this in 4 sets.